Let's all scream. Let's all scream. Scream, let's all scream.
Hi everyone, welcome to Let's All Scream. I'm Shehlaa Ali,
I'm Saleh Al Braik.
And I'm Hassan Al Marashi.
and thank you for joining. Kicking off today's episode, how are we guys?
Doing well. I think this past week, or at least the new thing that has happened in the past week for me is I have gone back to work.
Yeah.
And the first day, I won't lie, as much as I hated working from home, I got used to it, and I think it became my new normal of kind of just sitting, I had a whole schedule planned.
Yeah.
So the idea of changing that, obviously there was a bit of anxiety to that because it's a new old change, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what I didn't expect was the anxiety of feeling like everything was dirty or everything was infected.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was just such a weird feeling of, okay, so everything, these minor things that I never thought would change have changed. So for example, getting up in the morning and getting ready for work, you had a set, a routine of what you do, you brush your teeth, etc.
Yeah.
This time around, there's added things that you have to add. So you have to make sure, do I have enough gloves that I took with me? Do I have enough masks that I took with me? Do I have that sanitizer, the wipes?
Yeah.
Then when you step into the car, and usually for me, I try to make it as normal of a return to work as I could. And so every day before I go to work, I go pick up my coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This time round, I purposely went to the coffee store that was not into any building. Like it was just a stop.
On
So
the
you
outside.
park and you walk in.
Yeah.
I made sure also it was the quietest branch I could. So it was a bit out of my usual way.
Yeah.
And then entering that, I thought to myself, okay, so do I take out my debit card from now? Do I keep it in my pocket? Do I want to touch my wallet? Now I have to lock my car. Do I take my key? Is my key infected? So there were all these like things that just kind of piled up.
Yeah.
And that was even before I stepped into the office. Then obviously going into the office, there were all these new procedures. So we used to be able, there's the parking spaces were unlimited basically, but we were told to park in a specific area,
Right.
and then we were told to enter the building from a specific area because of all the thermal cameras and scanners around. And then even the elevators, everything is actually touch screen when we click on what floor we want to go on.
Yeah.
So even those had hand sanitizers. Our desks were all separated. In the office that I'm in, we don't have cubicles and we don't have actual, no one has an office.
Yeah.
Even the CEO himself has a desk, and it's all open space. It's like an open plan. So I can see the person on the other side of the floor just by standing up and looking over everyone's
Yeah.
heads. So imagine that being now separated, and there is dividers. They're putting up the plastic glass dividers as well. So it was, in short, it was a day filled with anxiety. I won't lie, I felt even a little nauseous because I didn't know how to process that anxiety. But then moving ahead, as the days had gone by, I did get more used to it. I became more at ease with the routine.
Yeah.
And I think and to everyone actually going back in the same period of time as I am, or if you've been going back even for longer or you're about to go back, from my own experience, all I can say is it just gets easier the more we accustom ourselves to it and kind of get
Reacclimated.
Yeah.
It's a new change, so we just have to get used to that. And now it's much better for me mentally, and it was actually great. The highlight was seeing my colleagues again.
Yeah.
Because
I'm sure that felt very nice.
I haven't seen anyone else. Like I've seen obviously during this past 4 months almost, we've seen each other.
Yeah.
I've seen my direct family, but I haven't seen anyone else. So that was a nice change this week. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
How about you guys?
I think
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I think it's gonna be an adjustment for a lot of people, but I think there's no one's under the guise that things are gonna go completely back to normal right now. I think it's all about a slow readaptation and reintroducing yourself to working in an office space rather than from home. And I think it's just going to take people time to get used to that. But I think everyone's very understanding of that.
Yeah. I one thing I wanted to, just before I toss it over back to Shehlaa, one thing that I do want to mention, and something that I'm very grateful for is, at the moment in the entire world, we, as the human race, have to bounce back. We have to get back on our feet. We have a lot of people, unfortunately, going through really difficult times, and job security is not something that can be guaranteed in every industry and in every field. So I think if you're going, you have that fear of going back to the office, just remember that we are resilient and we're gonna bounce back, and it might not look very good for you at the moment. You might have lost your job in the process, but good things will come. This is temporary and we're all gonna get through it one day. I'm very thankful, alhamdulillah, that I have a job to go back to, but my heart goes out to everyone that's been affected.
Yeah, honestly, I think we all feel that way.
What about you, Shehlaa? How has your week been?
Well, we've just been busy with the preparation of the baby's birthday.
Oh, yes.
We're not going to do anything, of course. Like, I was, my...
Oh, so wait, so there's no rave party?
No.
Oh, I have to cancel the DJ.
But that's the thing is, I used to always see her first party as being my family coming from Iraq, and also seeing, like, inviting our cousins and, like, especially the ones with the kids,
Yes.
And having like this big gathering.
Exactly. And I wasn't always, I was never going to do like a huge, massive party, but family and very close friends was always what I was imagining. And the fact that I can't do that, it does hurt a bit, but like you were saying, I'm just grateful to have everyone in my life and just to know that everyone's safe and everyone's okay. That's what matters. But we are just gonna do, as you know, we're gonna do just a small little gathering with Hassan's sisters and then you, of course, because
I have to be the entertainment.
But so I have been busy with the preparation of that. I'm not going. I am still gonna make have the cake and have, because I want to feel a bit normal. Yeah. And as much as like it's just us, and I think, oh, I shouldn't be making like an entire cake, or I shouldn't be making, an entire dessert table or whatever. Part of me is like, no, just do this for your sanity, kind of thing, because I feel like it's gonna. For now, it's helping me a lot with the anxiety. Just having, like, yesterday, we did like a small little photo shoots and everything within ourselves. We just took photos of her, and that alone made me feel so much better. Yeah. And so I feel like I just need to keep myself busy at this time.
Yeah. I'm sure she's gonna love it either way.
Yeah. That's the thing. I just hope.
I mean,
she's not going to remember.
Yeah, for her, it won't really make
real.
a difference. She'll just be happy to see her aunts and her family there.
Yeah, but that's it.
So the countdown begins.
Yeah, it's officially countdown. Oh, yeah.
I'm looking forward to the desserts. I'm not gonna lie. And now that you've shared this with everyone, you're gonna have to do behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes.
Yes, okay. For the Instagram stories.
No worries, guys. Let me know if you do want to see some behind the scenes of like the cake or the cookies, because hint, hint, I am doing them myself. Let's see how it turns out. But because again with Corona and everything, I think I just have too much anxiety, and I want to just do the cake myself. And I'm like, I'd rather do it than have all these worries, Yeah. So that's what we're gonna do. What about you, Hassan? I mean, I know how your week has been, but do you want to share any other thing?
Nothing really that eventful. Like you said, we were prepping for the baby's birthday, but obviously since it's been scaled back, there's not a whole lot that's going into it. Mm-hmm. But it's just been nice to focus on something else. Mm-hmm. Work for me has been pretty busy, so it's nice to kind of shift my focus to something fun.
Yeah. At least that's something we look forward to in the weekend.
Yeah. So today, for today's subject, we are actually going to continue our discussion from last week about grief. And if for anyone who hasn't listened, please go back and listen to the first episode so you know where we're at right now. And
this episode is basically so on the last episode we spoke about grief in the most obvious sense, in losing someone you love. But on today's episode, we want to talk about the different forms of grief. So I think let's start maybe with something that maybe not a lot of people think about, which is grieving your former self and grieving and your a past you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, the most recent thing I've experienced with that type of grief is just becoming a mom.
Yeah.
With becoming a mom, you have to say goodbye to your old self, whether it's physically, emotionally, mentally. There's so many things that come, and I can talk about this for hours and hours. But for me, it wasn't as hard to accept the fact of my body not being the same. That was okay. For me, my body didn't. It changed, but I don't feel like it affected me mentally, the changes that I did see. Of course, you have, the typical like stretch marks and all that kind of stuff.
Which in itself can take a toll.
It can. And when I first started getting those changes, I was a bit affected, and I was hoping that my body was the type that wouldn't have any stretch marks and have no sign of anything. And I was like, okay. It took me a few, I think, weeks. Once the pregnancy moved along, I was busy with other things, so I never really had time to
focus on
that and get not depressed, but upset and I accepted it. Once I delivered, it was fine. My body was just in the sense of that I accepted it. It was fine. As for the mentally part, that's where I struggled. When I first gave birth, I didn't really have what is known as postpartum depression. I felt like I didn't experience it as much, or as they say, it comes right after you give birth. It didn't come for me right after birth. It was I believe once I came here, because in Canada I had a huge support system. I had my mom, my sisters, my father, my grandmother that was there at the time, my cousins, uncles, and those were all of these people that I grew up with, so I trusted blindly.
Yes,
because I grew up with these people. I know front and back, and and that was literally the family I knew more than the rest of the family that I grew up with. The rest of the family that I have.
Yeah.
Not to say that my relationship isn't a good relationship with the rest, but that's where it focused on.
Yeah.
So it was so easy for me to trust them.
Yeah.
When I came here, I was alone.
Yeah.
I had Hassan, I had his sisters.
Yeah.
And I had you, of course, but that was where it stopped.
Yeah.
And
this was when the baby was how old again?
So she was around 2 months.
When you came back to Dubai. Yeah.
And for me, I always planned on going to Iraq also to see my family very soon after I give birth. So I planned to come here, and then I was like, I'll get also another break because I'll go to Iraq. I can trust my mom, and I can just give her, and I can rest, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I thought I would go after 2-3 months.
It's like a crash course. You're like, I can go there.
Yeah, exactly.
For a few weeks.
I can go there for a few weeks, have just a break, or as all, I'm sure all other mom listeners right now would understand. But then that didn't happen. And so I was again here still alone without anyone. So around January, February, I was planning on going to Iraq. And around March, when the COVID things happened, I decided last minute not to go.
Yeah. I remember you were actually days away.
I was literally the day before I canceled my flight. because I was ready to go, and then we found out that there was also a few cases in Iraq.
Yeah.
There was, I think, 1 case or 2 cases, and that's when we were just like, okay, you know what? Even my mom was like, I'd rather you just stay there and just be safe, and I was always keeping myself busy. I was working out, as I've mentioned before. I was working on my body, and I was giving myself that 1 hour where I would go to the gym. The ride there, I would, boost music or just listen to a podcast sometimes. Always I had something to do on the way in there and back. And then during that time, I would literally shut my brain off. I remember that's what I used to love about it. Is I used to be able to shut my brain off, and because of how exhausted my body and I was trying to focus on working out, I wouldn't be able to think about the baby, or I wouldn't be able to think about anxiety or blah, blah, blah. But with staying at home, that's where I was like, oh, I can't escape.
Yeah.
There is no escape. I can't even go out and drive. And so it started to shwaya creep up, to say the least. Each month it got worse and worse and worse. And I tried to talk to someone. I tried to seek help, even professionally. And at the time, the person I was talking to I felt like there wasn't really help.
Yeah.
Or they weren't really the kind of help that I needed.
Yeah.
And in that sense, I think you just have to try. It's trial and error. And sometimes you find someone that you
Works
talk
for
to.
you.
Yeah. And then sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
So after a few sessions, I decided to stop. And I thought I was okay. And as you guys have seen, I dealt with anxiety, and that's when it got even worse. And for me, I'll sum this up quickly, but it was a matter of I was trying to find a solution and I couldn't. And for all these other people that I'm pretty sure have also experienced this, I was grieving the idea of the past me.
Yeah.
The girl who was so free, who didn't have I didn't have a care in the world.
Yeah.
I was so innocent. I was so like simple-minded, and I never really saw any bad in the world. And all of a sudden, when I had the baby, I started seeing the whole
Everything.
world in a new light.
There's a phrase that they say, oh, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because I might be butchering this, but rose-colored glasses, I think it's called. So it's
You saw the world through like this flowery, like beautiful lens.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
girl, you were in Disneyland, and now
I was
now
full on in
you were
Disneyland.
thrown in Universal Studios. It's like the complete spectrum.
Exactly. And so I started seeing literally everything I see. Like right now, as I'm looking right now into this room, just finding an example, I see more than 10 hazardous things, which makes our house like sound very hazardous. It's not, but it's the eye of a mom. I see a corner. I see the door. I see this vase that's pointy.
Yeah.
I see the wheels that my daughter can put her hand under, and then the carts can move.
Yeah.
And all these things, for God's sakes, even this frame that I look at behind you, I'm like, oh, if I'm sitting under it, it could just fall all of a sudden. And so it's simple things like that.
Yeah.
But like your senses and your fears are just heightened to a
whole
other,
nother level. And now I am seeing someone else, and this girl also is helping me, because for me, I actually started seeing a Muslim counselor, and I like it because I can relate, and I can talk freely about everything and all the things that are going on in my head.
And you don't have to like explain.
Exactly, because she'll literally, the other day I was saying one thing and she's like, yeah, because it was like this and this. And I'm like, exactly. And so I loved it.
Yeah.
I'm still talking to her. And of course, I'm still having sessions because this is an ongoing journey. And I'm barely even hitting a year just next week.
Yeah.
So I don't believe postpartum and dealing with your past self it's not going to be a short-term thing. No, this is something that I'm going to deal with for a year, 2 years, however long I have to accept it and to start seeing the world more normally. But that's, for me, that's where my journey has been, and that's my experience.
My question would be, what advice would you give to other moms out there that are going through the same thing?
Honestly, first of all, I would talk to someone that you trust within the family. Having someone, for me, it's Hassan and even you, and just talking about just the daily thoughts, the simple daily thoughts that go on in my head. I also have other mom friends who I talk to, and I've managed to start getting close to those mom friends. Just because you have that small little support system that you can say, oh, today I was going through the door, and then I literally imagined, oh, if I was one step closer to the door, I would have, or to the edge of the door, I would have hit my daughter's head into the frame. And I would have, this is just an example, but this is exactly the kind of thoughts that you go through. So to have that and to just say, hey, I actually had this thought, and then other moms would be like, oh yeah, we do too. You feel like, okay, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Another one, which is the obvious also, is talk to a professional. When you talk to a professional, I'm really, again, we've talked about this before, and it really, I'm a believer that it can help in so many ways, more than just your thinking. And like, it can help you physically. It made me realize that I was sleeping, for example. I was sleeping every single chance I had. So I was never having time without the baby. Every time she would sleep, I would sleep, basically. And that's something that I realized, hey, if I don't sleep during the naps that she sleeps, and I have more quality sleep at night, then I could have the time
Your
I had.
me time.
Exactly.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I started focusing more on having quality sleep at night, where I could listen to meditations or those bedtime stories, and just unwind and actually get a good night's sleep. And then that way during the day, I have more quality time for myself. So it's just those simple things that you don't realize, that if you talk to someone, they might actually help you in these small little things that would make a big difference in your life.
I think those are important. Like, it's great pieces of advice, because I think that actually goes into different levels of grief. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be just grieving a form of yourself, but it could be in any forms that you're experiencing. Like we said, discussed in the last episode, where we were talking about the losing someone, or to them passing away. That also could be a huge help if you open up to someone in your inner circle, or even seek professional help.
Exactly,
because grief does not have to be done alone. That's, I think, one of the biggest things that I think just makes it worse, is if you go through it alone.
That's what I used to think, is that this is something I would have to deal with because I'm the mom. It's my responsibility. And that mom guilt, trust me, is a whole different thing.
Yeah. And if I can just add, like, as someone who has seen you go through this, and as your spouse, my advice to others who are, the spouses of women who are going through postpartum or any sort of, grieving process, or even if it's your friend or whoever, is just be patient with them. Know that they're going through something that they can't control, and this is, as much as they have to accept that this is a new version of them and they're grieving their past self, you have to do the same, and not expect them to bounce back and come on, just cheer up, that's not the reality of it. And just support them in the way that they need to be supported. Don't push too hard what you think they need.
Something I would like to add to that is to the moms that are listening, is do something that you haven't been doing, that you used to love to do. For example, for me, it used to be dancing. Whenever I would feel stressed, I would go to my room, lock the door, and just dance.
Have some me time.
Exactly. Yeah. And now I haven't been doing that. I didn't do that ever since I gave birth. So I felt the other day, I was like, Hassan, I think I'm going to go and just need a few minutes to myself. And I went into the room again. It was 15 minutes, but it made me feel so much better.
Yeah.
So I would just say, go do that thing that you never have done ever since you gave birth, or
something that you love to do it
you
before.
exactly.
Yeah.
It could be something as simple as making a cup of coffee. I made the other day. Like, it can be so simple, but it could help you in so many ways.
And I think just to quickly add to that, to the friends or spouses or whoever, try and notice the little things. Like for me, I noticed that every time Shehlaa will we have got this new coffee machine during when the lockdown kind of first started. And for Shehlaa, it was like this new fun project that she would do. And she would spend so much time making the perfect cup of coffee.
Yeah.
But then she would never have it hot. She'd get distracted with the baby or something. And then she'd like...
just gulp it down.
Yeah,
after
and when it would
not
cool down.
not appreciate
And
it.
so I was like, one day I was like, you know what? Stop. Give me the baby. Enjoy your cup of coffee while it's still hot. So it's just little things like that I think can help.
It can help.
I am
yeah.
witness to this. I see him do this, and then I think I didn't realize those little things gave you so much power.
And you don't realize, even me, I didn't realize it until I started reflecting on myself and to sit down and to think, okay, you know what, today I did this. And at the end of the day, I would sit down and I would reflect. I would write down, today this made me feel good and this made me feel bad.
Yeah.
And when I did that, did I start seeing, hey, wait a minute.
This is the pattern of
Exactly.
thinking, and
To kind of, I would say, close the chapter on grieving a past self or a past you. One thing that actually came into our discussions this week, and I thought maybe someone out there could benefit from, and that is basically looking at the past you in terms of a physical appearance. In previous episodes, we've been very vocal about weight issues and the body dysmorphic disorder that I go through personally.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I tend to do is, and I think many humans do this, is look at an old picture and go, wow, okay, I used to think that looked bad when I was that age. I wish I looked that way now. For example.
Yeah.
And we forget that we are... just as we change internally, we change externally.
Exactly.
Like we always say, and we discussed this in the episode about change, about how we change over time because we get wiser, we get, older and more experience. And that's the same thing with your body. Your body goes through different aspects of life, some traumatic, some joyful, that actually have a effect on your body.
Yeah.
Having a baby is a huge change on your physical appearance as well. And so some people, like myself, would always look back and be like, oh, I wish, until we came to this realization together the other day. And I think it's a great piece of advice we gave ourselves. And so hopefully someone can benefit from it, which is someone can't visit the past. You can't get that person back. The person of that version of you at that physical time with that physical appearance was someone in the past. And you can't get that person back. You have to let go of that idea. The whole thing about if you're going through a journey, whether it's something of a physical appearance and you're looking towards the future, you should actually intend to look at an aim to be a new version of yourself, a better version of yourself, a healthier version of yourself, someone that you look forward to be that is completely different from the you that is then, because the you that is then is gone. If you constantly just look back and try to get that, get that, it's literally like telling someone, I'm going to go back in time. It's unachievable. And then you will get disappointed anyway. So that's, I think, the subconsciously, I think that's the thing that's going to push us forward, at least for me personally, is, you know what, Saleh, I'm gonna stop going after 18-year-old you, 21-year-old you, 25-year-old you, because you're different. Maybe the type of workouts, the type of food, these things change. Your body doesn't respond to everything the same.
Yeah.
So I'm just now just living
Same
alhamdulillah
here.
comfortably, and I just
Yeah.
want to go and see I'm excited to see the
Yeah.
new me, not the old me.
That's
Yeah.
exactly where my new target is, because
Yeah.
that's where our discussion was I was also telling you, like, I want to go back to pre-baby, like my body before the baby was so much, and I don't even want to say so much nicer, because each body, I feel like each stage of our body has its goods and bads.
And was there for a reason.
Exactly.
Like they were there to serve its purpose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even if you were going through a downfall or
Exactly.
an uphill, like, or you're going something that's exciting, your body was there because it needed to be there for you.
Exactly. And so I don't want to, even using those words is my body then was good. No, your body now is also good. And you
Yeah.
have to accept that and appreciate your body for what it's done and what it's going to accomplish also in the future.
Yes. I think that's a
so-
beautiful way of putting it. And so I
Yeah.
hope that you guys take that into consideration. And again, we're always here to relate to your stories. And it's so great to see some of your feedback on even the past episode. We got some people messaging us privately or even on our Instagram channels. So it's an open discussion. We're all going through this. We're all changing. And
Yeah.
so,
It's
so
nice
this
to
is
see
just,
everyone relate to that.
Yeah.
especially on a sensitive topic like this.
And another way I wanted to change direction in this conversation is, so we talked about grieving your past self. Another thing that we grieve is when relationships either change or when we end a relationship. And
Yeah.
that can be either, romantic relationship or friendships, or family relationships. That happens as well, unfortunately. So I just wanted to share, like, personally, I've had, friendships in the past that, there's that, I think I've said this before on the podcast, but they say there's friends for a reason, friends for a season, and friends for a lifetime. I really have found that like applies. And, it may sound negative, but it's the truth of how friendships work and relationships work. And you sometimes will get to know people and you'll form such a close bond, and you think, this is gonna be a forever friend. And sometimes it works out that way and sometimes it doesn't. And I think, whether it's because of an argument or a falling out, or whether it's just the fact that you grow apart, that's something that you can grieve at times as well. And you need to allow yourself to feel that, you need to allow yourself to feel that and to go through that process, because it's unhealthy, I think, to simply replace one person with another and expect yourself to bounce back. I think you need to
believe that is what they call a rebound.
Yes. and that applies with relationships and friendships as well, I think.
For me, I've experienced that. Like, I've experienced where I've had a friendship and it's ended, and I thought, okay, I need another friend, and I would
be searching for that replacement. Yeah.
But then I found the most healthy way was to actually take a step back, accept it, grieve it, and then start just having new friends. And then I built stronger relationships with the people that I connected the most, leading up to a new friend kind of situation.
Yeah. And I think, like, I have found that the best way is to really find a way to know yourself and enjoy spending time with yourself by yourself.
Yeah.
So I've learned to really enjoy my own company, so that when friendships don't work out, you don't feel this like huge void and this like emptiness that, oh my God, I need someone in my life. And so if you enjoy your own company and you enjoy spending time by yourself, then you have a good foundation to then, so that then a relationship is just an added bonus. It's not something that you need in order to be happy or to function.
It just adds to your life.
Yes, exactly. And I always said, if anyone is making you feel less than 100%, then they're not adding to your life. I'm not saying you should cut them off. You should definitely have a conversation and address that if you can. But, people should be adding to our lives. They shouldn't be completing our lives.
For the things that I have gone through, I am known by everyone that I know as a very social person. So I from the moment I can remember, I've always been surrounded by people in all stages of my life, and I always had best friends through. I think I had so many best friend rebounds. I can't even count them, but. And we went through the whole idea. We had an episode all about friendships. So I'm gonna just zoom past into the grieving aspect. When you are very social, the more friends you can count is exactly going to result into the more friends I had to say goodbye to or have said goodbye to.
Right.
Yeah.
I am not perfect. I have done many mistakes. I have wronged people as well and friends. And so I've seen friends walk away, or I've walked away from friends and relationships. And I don't even think, I'm not the type of person that will suppress the grieving. I went through grieving and it sucked. Like it's a very specifically, of course, when you are the one in the wrong. And you've burnt that bridge, you have this feeling of, guilt, you have this feeling of doubt, and kind of not just guilt, you kind of have this resentment towards yourself for not having to uphold. It's like a contract, right? Between two friends. When you're friends with someone, you have that trust, honesty, and then you feel like you didn't uphold to that agreement that you had. And so I've gone through really dark moments in time over the course of my life, just through grieving friends and relationships that have come and gone. And it's not easy because some of them go very sudden. You could literally be okay one day, and then the next day they have the rug pulled right under you. And you're off balance, and then you fall. And then you have the worst thing that can come out of this, and I can relate, which is the trust issues that fall after losing a relationship or a friendship, or having lost one, or you being the cause of losing one.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially when you've invested so much in it.
Exactly.
And I think, but at the same time, I think the fact that you grieve that, and the fact that you get emotional about that, it shows that was a real friendship or a real relationship. If you've just like cut someone off, or you don't speak to someone and you don't care, it means that either that relationship was not adding anything to you, or that friendship, or it was just, it wasn't really a real friendship.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of, good riddance or whatever.
And that's why I feel like it's important to grieve, because you have lost a connection that was part of your everyday life. And it could be something that was a part of your everyday life. And if it was someone that was really close to you, specifically if it's a relationship, and then all of a sudden that person's not going to be there. So your outings, your memories, you could have traveled with this person, you could have shared moments, you could have actually grieved moments together, or go through milestones like high school or university, and then, not have to kind of see them every day. That's a huge adjustment. Yeah. And I remember. I just wanted to say that, and I think you have to allow yourselves to grieve, because if you're not, you're denying something, and then if you're not, there's a. I'm going to compliment Hassan. Please don't inflate your ego. But you said in the last episode, to deny grieving is to deny your humanity, and I think that's very important, even when it comes to friendship, because essentially, as much as I can say it's not losing someone, or that person hasn't passed away, it's not a tragic loss, but it's still a loss.
I was gonna say, I've had a friendship where we were really close and we hung out every day, and like it became kind of like this sole focus of my life, and then that friend moved out of the country, and I remember feeling this emptiness, like, what am I gonna do now? Like, who am I gonna hang out with? But honestly, it was the best thing that could have happened, because it allowed me to, like I said before, enjoy spending time by myself, and realizing that I don't need people to make me happy. I can be happy all
I'm enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really important, and a lot of people don't get that or achieve that until much later on. So I think to pause and really try and work on that, especially after you've gone through some form of an end of a relationship or a friendship, is really, really helpful.
And the back end of that, which I brought up, which is the trust issues. I completely understand, and I know where you're coming from. Trust me, I have gone through it myself when it comes to friendships and relationships. It is something that will eventually pop up in one or two of the ends, or even more of the once something has ended. And it's completely normal. Yes, it may not be the same, but it's something that you need to deal with. You can't have the shadow or having trust issues determine your future.
Yeah.
Don't let it be the reason that you build walls around yourself that are so high that you won't let anyone else in, because what you could eventually be doing is, let's say it's a relationship, if you build your walls up so high because you've had trust issues and you were hurt because of the last one that had ended, then you might actually be trapping yourself in, and a good person might come along and won't be able to,
won't be ready.
And there's this quote that I see out there that annoys me. It's like, no, if they think I'm worth it, they'll break down my walls. I don't have to lower my walls. No. It's a two-way.
That's not how it works.
It's fine. Okay, yes, they can break down your walls if you're a villa, but if you have your walls as high as Burj Khalifa, then sorry, I don't think anyone's gonna bother ever gonna try to break down those things.
And I'm sorry, but it's not the job of that person to break down your walls. That person is going to introduce themselves. That person is going to be there for you, but it's you who has to allow them in in order for them to be there for you.
I think also, by the way, it's a two thing. Like when you end up becoming someone's friend, or you're getting to know someone, and you notice that they have their walls up and their guards up, and then you obviously find out, or you can maybe make the conclusion in your head that they have trust issues, then for me, again, I agree. You don't have to break down those walls for them. It's not your job. However, I do believe that it is your duty, if you want to stay close to that friend,
to check in on them.
But to allow them to lower those walls, gain their trust, and
make them feel safe.
Make them feel safe.
Yeah.
But I completely agree. If you guys feel like it's too soon, or you're comfortable in where you are with your walls up, again, I was there, and I've been there. I've gone back and forth with this. I've had my walls up. I've had my walls down. And then I've had it down and then got hurt. I've had it up and then lost opportunities.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that there's no easy way out, but allow yourself to grieve and try your best not to have trust issues be the baggage that is left post-grieving. Try to let that go, because no one person is the same. Just because one person broke your trust does not mean everyone after is going to break your trust.
Yeah.
But it also doesn't mean no one's ever going to not break your trust again. This is what life is about at the end of the day. Unfortunately, it's all about risk.
And like I said, if you have that good foundation where you are comfortable by yourself, then you have something to fall back on.
Yeah.
So definitely find a way to process that, to grieve, but then also reflect on what makes you happy and what you want to get out of friendships and relationships, so you know for the next one what you're willing to tolerate and you're not going to accept. But I think with that, this was, again, the second part of a two-part episode. We're really glad you guys enjoyed the first one. Hopefully you'll like this one as well. Please reach out to us. Let us know your experiences. Let us know what you have gone through that relates to this. And as always, there's a few ways you can reach out to us. We have our email that you can send your thoughts to, letsallscream.podcast@gmail.com, or you can reach us on Instagram @letsallscream, and that's on Facebook as well.
And again, the reason why we're recording these podcasts and why we'll continue to record these moving on for as long as we can is just because for you guys to realize that there are people out there that may think like you, and at the end of the day are friends that you can also discuss things that you may want people to understand and relate to you, and things that you may feel like you're alone in. And hopefully you know that we are not just each other's friends, but here we are trying to widen our circle and include you in it, and continuously share our opinions and our thoughts with you.
So thank you all for joining in and listening today. We hope that you enjoyed it, and tune in next week for our next episode.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Take care and stay safe.